what I have here is Valeria Card Kingdoms. I'm going to explain a little bit about how this game functions and then have a couple of thoughts about it. So initially, this game will have you starting out with a peasant and a knight in your tableau. The game overall is a tableau building game that has a finite amount of time to play, and you just gain victory points. That's the whole kind of basic concept. But with a knight and a peasant in your starting tableau, you'll notice that they have a little 5 and a 6. When it is your turn, and when it is everyone's turn, you roll these 2 dice. When the dice pop any number, you actually get the resources on the card that matches those numbers, plus the number that they add up to. So I roll here a 5 and a 1, I would actually proc the 5, the 1, and the 6. So in this case, I would get 1 gold and 1 might, which is the gold resource or yellow resource, and the red resource. With those resources, I can kill monsters to get victory points, I can buy more dudes for my tableau to get bigger and better dice rolls and more resources and more stuff. I can buy domains, which act as like ongoing effects. Sometimes they're single-use items, but they'll always get you a lot of victory points and stuff like that. If this sounds familiar, it's likely because you've played Machikoro. And for us, this game completely kills Machikoro and makes it so we'll probably never ever play that game ever again. And my question for you guys as watchers of these videos, what do you do when a game kills another game? Do you simply trade it out? Do you get rid of it? Do you hope that they come out with another expansion that might re-energize that game? Furthermore, how does this game keep hitting your table once you've kind of already played the previous one? That is to say, if you're used to playing something like Machikoro and then you get Valeria Card Kingdoms, do they not cancel each other out? Because once you get a game to the table about 12 times, you're almost mostly done playing that game. That's just the way it is. I know a lot of people say that's not true for me. I play this game 100 times or I'll play that game 20 times. But the vast majority of your games, you only get to the table about a dozen times. So if Machikoro was 5 of those times and Valeria Card Kingdoms was 7 of those times, then aren't you kind of done? They're mostly the same game. Now, this definitely is different and it has a different feel. It's got a different theme. It's got very different art, not necessarily better art. This has the artist of the Miko, which is the same guy that did Rise to Nobility. I've talked about Rise to Nobility, and Raiders of the North Sea, which I hope to talk about next week actually. And he's one of my favorite artists, but the Machikoro art is also super duper good. So where is the trade-off for you? For me, it's actually in the theme, and then the little addition of the fact that I get the sum of the dice as well. That really helped me to really like this game and nail it down for newer players. I remember first learning Machikoro and thinking, why would I get a second dice if I can't use each dice individually? And if you have played that game, you'd know what I'm talking about. This is just so much more simplified. I get that 5, I get the 1, and I get the 6. Very easy. There's also cards out here that get you a lot of resources if you happen to roll a 12 or a 10 or something really high. So the ramp up is not just a risk mitigation factor. It's not, do I roll these 2 dice in hopes that I get that super rare 12 or nothing else? It's, once that 12 procs, it actually is a huge boost, and so I will never not want to have that as a possibility. This also has a lot of expansions already into it. Well, one expansion already into it. There's another expansion that hasn't dropped from Kickstarter yet. It's coming soon. So you'll notice there's like extra cards up here from if you bought the base game. The agents aren't there. Some of these cards would be different, but mostly the same. The only thing that I do for this game that changes it a little bit is my second kind of thought here, are these 3 dukes. At the beginning of the game, you are given a duke, and he gives you extra victory points based on the way you play. And it informs the way you play, really. There's 3 here that I have. One of them basically says you score an extra victory point per gold that you have at the end of the game, which can be really, really, really rough to play against. It can be pretty broken if the game goes on for a while, because you'll just be stockpiling gold, and resources in this game are limitless. This one says you get an extra victory point for whichever card you have. You just get cards, you get victory points. Doesn't matter. As long as you have a citizen, a monster, or a domain card in front of you, you get an extra victory point for that. This one is 1 victory point for any of the symbols that are on the card, like these little circular symbols up in here. Most other ones will get you like 2 victory points if you have the shadow symbol, and 1 victory point if you have the worker, or 2 if you've got the holy, and 1 if you've got the knight. And so these 3 dudes really encourage the longest possible game, because that's how they're going to win. The longer the game goes, the more likely they are going to actually have the opportunity to win this game. Because on your turn, you only get to buy 2 cards. And the game ends when you kill these stacks out. So if there's only 1 card left on the stack, and I get a point no matter what card I buy, I'm not buying that. That's silly. That would end the game faster. And I need this game to go on for as long as humanly possible. So that's the only way we don't play the whole game, is we don't allow these 3 dukes, just because what is an otherwise very enjoyable half an hour to 45-minute game can actually become an hour and a half long game if these 3 people are fighting against each other. That would be the absolute worst. We'd just take the longest possible time playing this game. But otherwise, Valeria Card Kingdoms is still one of the better games for our game group. We've seen it hit the table almost 20 times. I still have another expansion that's coming, so we're really excited to get that one. And we hope you give it a chance, because I really like this one. I can't recommend it enough. And thanks for watching the video. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, it's down there if you're on YouTube. If you're on IGTV, tap your screen and hit the little follow. It should be like right around here. It's right where my shoulder is usually. That's why I point with my shoulder. Share other calls to action.